Welcome to 14th lecture in second chapter of our comprehensive machine learning, data science and artificial intelligence course. In this lecture, we want to talk about understanding the scope in Python. Now, this scope is a very important topic for every programming language. In fact, in previous lecture, we were doing this thing, defining and calling functions, understanding scope and parameters in Python, parameters and arguments of course. So we did functions and what do you mean by parameters and arguments, then positional arguments and keyword arguments that we have done. But this part we left because it merits a separate lecture. And this is also very important, so please pay attention because of this scope, sometimes such bugs are created which are difficult to even debug. The reason is that the code will be syntactically correct, that is, it will be having correct Python everywhere, but still it will not work as expected. So what is the meaning of that word scope? So let us see what is scope. Scope refers to the region of the code where variables are defined and accessible. Now what is meaning? So let us take one such example. Suppose this is a Python script. I have started with where 1 equals 4.5. This indentation may or may not be there, just it is put so that this box like green box is clearly visible. But I am defining one function in my script, that's func1. Keep on comparing here also, that would make it clear. For example, this semicolon is missing in the diagram, so that you have to understand that function definition has to have semicolon. Then inside there is where 2 equals 6. Okay. Now inside this first func1, we are defining another nested function, func2. And there we are saying another variable is being defined where 3 equals Python. Okay. And we are defining yet another variable where 4 equals 10, but before defining it, we add this sentence, global where 4. So, okay, like this. And then we try to print where 1, where 2, where 3, where 4 somewhere outside. Now, what is this diagram, upper diagram and this diagram? The lower diagram is this actual script, okay, while this diagram shows the same script in the form of some kind of boxes. So, the outermost blue box, which covers the entire script, that is called built-in scope. Okay, then this magenta box, that is called global scope. So anything which is defined within this global scope, that is accessible everywhere. It is even available in the built-in scope also. Okay, so that is one thing. It is accessible throughout entire script. So this where 1 4.5 that I have defined in the global scope, so that will be accessible everywhere. Now what do I mean by accessible? That means if I write statement print where 1, then that statement will correctly execute and print 4.5. It will not throw error. Okay. So we say that this variable has global scope. Okay. Because it was defined in this outermost at the top of my Python script. Now inside there is this func1. There I am defining a new variable where 2. What will be the scope of that new variable where 2? Okay. Then that variable will be accessible in as long as I am within the body of func1. So here, as long as I am in this region, everywhere, this whole thing is the body of func1. Okay, so where 2 is accessible. So if I write print where 2 somewhere in the body of func1, then it will also correctly print that print 6. It will print 6 value. Okay, but if I go out and write print where 2 here, I have already left the scope of that where 2 variable. It was accessible within the body of func1, green colored part, or here it was accessible in this much region, but now I have left that region, I have come out of that region, so here this where 2 will not be accessible. Okay, so anything which is outside the box, anything which is inside the box is not visible outside, and it cannot, this variable 2 cannot go from in to out. So these walls of this box are like semi-permeable membrane. They will allow things to go from out to in, but they will not allow things to go from in to out. Okay, so if someone may ask that is this where 1 equals 4.5 accessible in this green box, then yes, because out to in is always allowed. So that means 4.5 here, if you add one statement print where 2, I have already added in the body of func1, then it will correctly print where 2. Okay, it will not throw error. Or print where 1, then also it will correctly print where 1, because though where 1 is outside the box, because entry from out to in is allowed, so where 1 is accessible inside the body of func1. Now there is another nested function, or here you can see this is a nested function, there func2, and there we write this much, where 3 equals Python and global where 4 and where 4 equals 10. Okay, so what does this mean? This Func2 is an orange color box, and that extends here. In fact, this orange color box also encloses this global where4, and this green also encloses this. So diagram is slightly inaccurate, but here you can see this. Okay, global where4. This is inside the body of Func2. Now, if I had not written that keyword global, then it would be an ordinary variable where4 equals 10. That means even this whole statement would not be required. Okay, so I comment out that statement. That means it is ineffective now. And if I just write this where4, then where4 is defined where? It is defined within the body of Func2. So it will not be accessible as soon as I leave out. Okay, because it is the movement from a variable from in to out that is not allowed. But I am making my where4 Superman. Okay, so I give it this keyword global. That will make it as powerful as this variable which was defined and assigned value 4.5 at the beginning of the script. Now this where4 is accessible everywhere in entire script. So now if I write this print where4 here, then this will not throw any error, though print where4 is outside the body of Func4. But remember, that is because this global where4, global word is attached. The question is, what about this where3? Here I have not attached any global word. It is just a string variable Python assigned to where3. Then as soon as I leave this portion, or as soon as I leave this orange color box, then in that case, this print where3 will throw error, because where3 cannot go out. From in to out is allowed, from out to in is allowed, but from in to out is not allowed. Okay, so where3 cannot go from in to out, and therefore it is simply not available in this region where body of Func2 is over. Then where3 ceases to exist. Okay, it is existing only as long as I am here. Similarly, where2 exists only as long as I am here. Okay, and if this line will also throw error, because where2 does not exist outside the body of Func1. That is, outside this green box, where2 will not exist. Okay, so out of this variable, let us look at this diagram. What are global? Then where1, which is at the top of the script, is accessible everywhere, because entry from out to in is always allowed. So it is one global variable. Or we say that it belongs to a global namespace. Okay, then this global where4, though it was defined within the body of Func2, we have attached superpower with it by giving this word global. It is also having global namespace. It is also accessible anywhere in this entire script. So where4 is also accessible. So where1 and where4, they are having global namespace. Now then where2, we say that it is defined inside Func1. So somewhere here in this region, where2 is accessible. So therefore it is called that, it is said that it has local namespace. And where3 has even limited scope. It is accessible only as long as you are here in this region, body of Func2. So it is called nested local namespace. So this whole thing, they are called scope. Who has the largest scope? Where1 and where4. They are accessible everywhere. Who has the second largest scope? Where2. It is accessible in the body of Func1, and it is also accessible therefore in the body of Func2. Okay. Who has the minimal scope? Then this where3 equals Python, because it is accessible only in this region. Okay. So if I try to put this print statement, where will the error come? First of all, this will throw the error. Why? Because where2 I am defining inside my Func1. So once I go out of body of Func1, this will throw error. So let us check first if it is throwing error. Then you can see that print where2, line number 12, that is throwing error. Now we want that this is just a function definition. We don't want to print anything. Now what will throw error? If you see, then this where3, it is accessible only in this region. But here I am trying to access it outside Func2. So even that line will also throw error. Let us again execute it, but I have to call the function. Okay. So as I call the function, you can see that line 10, that throws the error. Okay. So let me comment out that line. Or let me simply comment out is also fine, but comment out is hash symbol, not percent symbol. I am just simply removing that. Now, is where1 accessible here? Then where1 is accessible everywhere because it is in the global namespace. Is where2 accessible here? Then yes, where2 is accessible within the body of Func1, and here I am printing everything in the body of Func1 only. So it is accessible here. Is where4 accessible here? Now where4 the situation was tricky, as such it was defined within body of Func2. So it should not have been accessible outside body of Func2, but I have given it global superpower. So now it is also accessible. So now this will not throw any error, and that you can check. And it prints where1, where2, and where4. Okay. Now there is one more also point that one must that is worth discussing. Here, this was the code which we took as an example, and this is the function definition, and that where one, of course, that was defined before where one equals 4.5, like somewhat like this. It was in the global scope as we have talked. Now this was the function definition inside func1 where 2 was defined. Then there was a nested function, okay, and inside that nested function where 3 was defined, and where 4 was also defined inside the nested function, but it was given superpower by that global, and it was assigned value 10. Now this much is the body of that inner function. So that means where 3, which is defined inside it and which does not have superpower, it is not global, will not be accessible anywhere outside it. And therefore here we did not even try to print it. If we try to print it here, then it will throw error that I showed you. Okay, if I write this print where 3 here, then it shows error. So we removed that line simply. The question is, that means how to access this where 3? If someone wants to access this where 3, then what one has to do? Then one has to shift this print statement within this function code, because where 3 is only accessible in this much region. So your print statements should, which try to access it, they also should be in that region. But that leads to some issue, so I have to change the code slightly. Okay, what is the issue that which it leads to? First, what was the answer here? So here the answer was, you can find where 1, where 2, and where 4. But as I said, I want to print all 1, 2, 3, 4 variables. So I will change the code slightly. I will say that now my func1, which was here without taking any argument parameter, now here it has a parameter var1, and I will pass that parameter var1. Okay, then var2 equals 6. My inner function var func2, that is also taking the same parameter. Okay, and it is also taking, say, var2 as a parameter. Okay, so it takes var1 and var2. Var2 is not required because var2 is by default available. As I said, anything which is outside that can easily enter inside the box. Each function you should treat as a box. Okay, so anything which is outside is available. So var2 is already available here inside. Now I print this var3 at this moment, and let us try to print or call the function. Even the method of calling the function is interesting. That first I will call the outer function func1 equals func1 with a parent with a argument 4.5. So 4.5 would be assigned to this var1, and then I call func1 dot func2, where func2 will also take the same argument which was passed to func1 because it is available in this entire region. So it is available to func2. So if I write it this way, let us try to now print. All print statements have been shifted inside. Now let us check the scope. var1. var1 is available everywhere here, so it will be available within func1 and func2 both. So this print statement should be correct. Print var2. var2 is outside func2, but anything can enter from out to in. So that means it is available in func2. So this sentence will also print correct. var3 is defined in the same scope as func2, and I am trying to print also in the same scope, and therefore it should print it. And var4 is defined afterwards, but it is global, so it should also print it. Perhaps I would need to declare earlier, then even the global would not be required because the print statement is also in the definition of func2, and I am trying to assign the 10 value to the var4 also within the definition of func2. So let us define this, and var4 is used. Okay. So this print should be somewhere here. As I said, I will need to define it first, then I can use it. Okay. Now let us define function, but here it is just defined. Now I want to call the function. So if I call it, first I am calling func1 4.5, but that will not print anything because let me first clear this output. This is output of older one. Okay, so if I write func1 with a parenthesis 4.5, that will not do anything because that will just, inside func1 there is no print statement. Whatever print statement is there, that is in the nested function. So I have to somehow call the nested function. So I am calling the nested function f1 dot func2. Okay, func1 dot func2, and let me check it. Okay, now it is saying that function has no attribute func2. Perhaps I should here also supply argument. Then yes, I had to change the definition of inner function, rather outer function slightly, because calling a nested function is always a tricky thing, and you will find several queries on various forums regarding how to call that nested function. So I just added one line here, func1 dot func2 equals func2, and then another line just return. Now if I, let me first clear this output so that you are assured that it is generated properly. Let me change this also. It earlier generated that mark attribute error. So let me clear that also. Now if I execute this, first I execute func1 4.5. So what will happen? 4.5 will be assigned to this variable 1. Now variable 1 is having available everywhere within the body of func1. So it is everywhere available here. So for 4.5 is available. 6 is also available everywhere within the body. So where 2 is also available. Where 3 is available inside only this func2, and we are actually using it inside func2 only. So there is no issue. Now even this word global is not required, because where4 also I am defining inside the body of func2, and I am accessing it inside the body of func2. So I will be able to print all 4 variables this way. Okay. So first I will call func1, and then I will call func1.func2 4.5. Okay. So let me check what output I get, and now I can even access this inner variable. Okay, that is where3, which was the issue earlier. So now this func1.func2 that will print this all 4 variables, where1, where2, where3, and where4. Okay, 4.5, 6, Python, and 10. Earlier that Python was not, we were not able to print because we were trying to print it somewhere here, but that means we were trying to access it outside this box where it was defined. Python was defined inside where inside func2, so you cannot access it outside, so you cannot print it. But now we are trying to print it within that func2 where it is defined. So we are trying to define it in this namespace, and we are trying to access also in that same namespace. Okay, so that is how you can access a nested function. So here you not only learn about namespace and scope, but you also learn about one very important thing. As I said, on that thing you will see several queries being raised all over internet, how to access a variable which is defined inside a nested function. Okay, fine. So this is one thing which we wanted to do. Now what is this thing? Then I think this we have already done, local scope and global scope. So x is still, this is one more example, so let's do it. X is equal to global, so this is a global variable. Now we are defining a function, and we are defining y is equal to local, and we are trying to print them within that func. Okay, so obviously they will be printed because from out to in entry is allowed, so x is accessible here, and y is defined here only, so y is also accessible here. Okay, so that is fine, this would print. Okay, and print x, even if you have left the body, you have come out of this box, still if you print x, this will also not raise any error because x is global, so it is accessible everywhere inside this whole cell. And you can see first global is printed, that is printed because of this line, print x. Then local is printed, that is printed because of this line, print y, and then this line comes into action, and again global is printed. Okay, let us try to print that y here, but it will raise error. The reason is y is a local variable in this much region only. It is not accessible outside this box. Out to in is allowed, x can go inside this box, but in to out is not allowed, y cannot come out of that box. So therefore this statement would raise error, and expectedly it raises error in 8th line of the cell. Here you can see the 8th line of the cell, it raises error. Okay, but then you can here also, if you want to access that y anywhere, then what can you do? Then you can do one thing, though its name is local, it does not make any difference. You just give it that superpower, that is make it a global variable, and now try to print y, and it will be printed. So global local, that is due to these two print statement, and again global local, that is due to these two print statement. Okay, so this is how you can do it. Let us make it again just like as it was earlier, and comment out this so that it is like earlier. Now global keyword modifies the variable inside the function that we have already seen. Now this increment we have already seen earlier, that should not appear here, I'm sorry. Now this part we will take in the next lecture, advanced function parameters. Okay, so we are stopping here. Thank you for attending this lecture.